Teach Me Bees. I've got with me Scott the Beekeeper, and I'm your host, Dave Westcott. Today we are talking about dearth and the weather effects on beekeeping, which are definitely something to discuss, which is definitely something to discuss since it really has an impact on bees. Weather is a big deal.
Yep.
Scott, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. It's today's a little started a little rocky, but you know what? We're having grit. We're overcoming, and it's going to be a good day. I'm determined that today will be a good day. So
That's good. Why was it rocky? Have you been stung already?
no, just had trouble getting into the building here. For those listening, we have like an app that lets you open the door and everything. Super fancy until the app does not work properly, and then you're stuck trying to get in. And we had a gate, and I was like kind of in traffic, kind of at the gate trying to get in. It was just a whole thing. So thankfully, someone walked by, was able to get me in, and we're here. We're here now. We're persevering, and determined it's going to be a good day. And the weather, thankfully, it's not raining, which is nice, but wasn't great either. So, you know,
It's kind of an overcast day.
overcast, gross, 57 degrees max kind of day. Nothing fun. And if you're in the Northwest with us, you probably know that this is like every single day right now. It just feels bleh, bleh. So, which
Hmm.
makes beekeeping kind of challenging.
So interestingly enough, I'm guessing that what you're saying is I just want to crawl back into bed.
I mean, I would not be opposed. You know what I mean? There are some days you wake up and it's like, I don't want to leave my bed.
So I was down in I was down in Leavenworth,
Okay. Fun
and
place to go.
it's a
Fun place.
small little German town, and it was around this time of year, and there was a Jägermeister that we were drinking at this particular time. I'm no longer a drinker, but at this particular time I was having some drinks, and it was a honey Jägermeister,
Mm.
or it was honey in the Jägermeister, and that reminded me of seeing you in your jacket and your black hat, and it was a cloudy, crusty morning. Maybe you take a couple of shots of honey Jägermeister and just go back to bed.
I don't know how that would feel, but I'd probably go to sleep. That's for sure. So
Would it not be good?
it would be probably very good. But unlike that fun experience, Leavenworth, if you've never been, anyone who's out there listening, fun little Bavarian German town. Go. It's a lot of fun. Um, it's on the other side of the mountains, so it's always warmer there for sure. Here, if you've been around in Western Washington, we had some nice days, but by and large, it's been in the 50s, maybe scratching the 60s, cloudy, windy, rainy, and that makes beekeeping pretty tough. So for everyone listening, you really don't want to get in your hives. And we've said this. You don't want to get in your hives if it's below 60 degrees. I mean, you could open it and look and just like kind of see what's happening, but it needs to be at that 60-degree threshold for you to open it up, pull any frames out, be looking around. But then if it's windy or rainy, you can't really get in there. It's dangerous for the bees, bad for the bees. And so, lately, I'd say there's probably been maybe 2 quality days a week to get in the hives and do significant hive related things. So that makes beekeeping challenging here in the Northwest. I'm sure in Florida your weather's probably great right now. I got family in Virginia; they're loving the weather there. My wife was in SoCal a couple weeks ago. It was like 80 degrees there. They were loving it. But here, challenging. And so, with the weather these days, you got to be careful, which leads to the idea of dearth. Dave, do you know what dearth means?
Yes, I heard about it on Wayne's World.
What is dearth?
It's a really, really interesting topic. It's a scarcity or a lacking of something. And in this case, it relates directly to nectar. Dearth hits when flowers and plants are not in bloom and there is not enough to go around.
Yes. Great job. Great job. That was like a
I
textbook
crushed it. What
definition.
can I say?
10
It's
out of 10 right there.
when you have this kind of mind, it's just a beautiful
You
thing.
got a
Like nothing's gonna get through this thing.
you got a lot going on, and wealth of knowledge up there. Wealth of knowledge. Yeah. So at dearth, in beekeeping context, there simply is not enough food. There's not enough nectar for the bees. Either just there's not it could be a season where there's none whatsoever. There are dearths where there's no nectar flow, or it could be a limited supply of nectar, or it could be what we might call a rain dearth, where it's raining so much that the bees are just kind of kept in their hive that they can't actually get out to the nectar. And then if it rains that much, it might also wash away the nectar. So rain, which is something we're experiencing off and on here, is both a pro and a con. Like it definitely, we don't like droughts, and the rain is good for the plants. We recently planted a bunch of blueberries, and it's great to have that rain just watering them naturally and such. But then on the other side, it can create a dearth for the bees, and so that's the tension point of dealing with some of the weather and this. Yeah,
There's pros and cons to it though. Like as you mentioned, a couple of those areas, like, Southern California, nice weather. We had a guest on our show last week, great gal, you loves beekeeping down in the cemeteries and everything she's
in
doing
Kentucky. Yep.
down in Louisville, Kentucky. And one of the things that she mentioned was that she took her hives, she put them out in a field and didn't do the research on the surrounding areas, the surrounding fields, and didn't realize that, um, all of the poisons basically put on
Pesticides, yeah.
all of the pesticides that were put on the plants in the surrounding fields actually ended up killing her hives. And part of the benefit to the rain is that the rain washes a lot of that pesticide off. It
Yeah.
cleans the plants a little bit. So, one of the things I think in beekeeping is the grass is never greener on the other side. Just because you walk into a market or you walk into an environment that's different, like, hey, Southern California is super nice, Texas nice, Nevada nice. We don't have to deal with this rain. We don't have to deal with it. But we got to deal with other things. We got to deal with infestations of killer bees. We got to deal with varroa. We got to deal with all sorts of things. And what I love about this show is that no matter, because we pick guests and we're able to get guests from all over the country, it's really interesting because, what you might see in the Pacific Northwest, you don't, you might not be seeing in the South or in the East Coast or
Mm-hmm.
in different spots and areas. And so you're really getting a wide variety of education. To be honest with you, I read the beekeeping books, I listen to the shows, I do a lot, to try to pick up continued education on bees. But where I get the most information is on this show. And I'm not bragging about this show, but just with the variety of different guests and experiences and things, there's just a wide, breadth of knowledge that comes out, especially from having, yes, because they all have one or two really cool topics, one or two really cool, stories or
Yeah.
just things
Yeah.
that have happened along the way that I really love. And I think, dearth is one of those things where it's not something that you might hear about all the time. It's not something you might be talking about. It's not something like Varroa, which we're like, oh my God, we're panicking over. But we are talking about something that's important. We're all talking something about beekeepers need to know, and it's something to pay attention to. Scott, what are some of the things that we need to be noticing here?
Yeah. So if you're an experienced beekeeper, you might have a lot of this down. You might know like a seasonal nectar flow, or like what should be blooming right now in your area where your bees are at, which is naturally going to give you a little bit of an edge up compared to someone who's not as experienced. But you need to be so knowing the nectar flow of your area is always a great thing, right? Now you can't really control the rain if the rain were to keep your bees inside and wash away the nectar, but knowing the nectar flow, things that can kind of give you a hint that there's a dearth going on. Robbing, if you notice robbing, typically that's a stronger hive robbing of a weaker hive. It's usually not the weaker hive robbing the stronger. That's not really how that works.
It's not like Robin Hood.
No, no, it's not like Robin Hood. Although great films, especially the Disney Fox one, instant classic. I know it's a cartoon, Dave,
I
but
like the Prince of Thieves.
yeah, yeah, Kevin Costner.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love
if
Kevin
Kevin
Costner.
Costner's in it, I'll consider watching it. You know what I mean? Like it's like that kind of level. But so not quite like Robin Hood. If you see robbing going on in your hives, so just like watch your hives for a little bit, and if bees are coming in and out from a different one and going into the next one, then well, they're probably robbing. Which is not great for either hive because then it cross contaminates if there are sicknesses or things you don't know about. And then also it's just taking advantage of the weaker hive, and that weaker hive's not going to get stronger for the summer, for the winter, etc. Um, Oddly enough, bees fly lower when there's a nectar dearth. So in the sense when there is not as much to go around, they're flying around lower looking for what can I possibly eat? What can I bring back to the hive? Um, so notice if your bees are flying higher, more direct. I was in fact reading an article on this, and the person noted that when I don't see my bees, like in my yard, nectar's fine. They're out getting it. They're flying around. They know exactly where to go. It's when I see lots of bees in my yard that I know they're all scrambling, looking for that nectar. And so pay attention. Like, how many bees are you seeing? Where are they at? Are they able to go forage? Are they not foraging? Um, are you able to watch them bring back pollen and nectar on their legs entering the hive? If it's a warm enough day, just like observe. Another one is it might look like they're starting to swarm around the entrance. They're just kind of gathering there. That could be a sign of a dearth. Could also be a swarm, but it could just be a sign of a dearth. And then this
They
one,
also like on that one, they also like to come out and sit on the front porch a little bit from time to time, like on a nice day.
yeah,
Like on a nice sunny day, they might be just hanging out on the front porch, kind of swarming over the front of the front porch. And
yep,
that might be a little nerve-wracking to you too, but I would say that, make sure that you're not thinking just because you see him on the front porch that, there's a dearth or something like that. Just you want to look for multiple different signs. I'm a believer in that.
yeah, definitely look for multiple things. And then they also get louder as a hive. Perhaps if you're walking by, you'll notice, or if you actually begin to do an inspection and they're just generally louder, they're flying around more. It's generally because they're a little more agitated. I kind of compute it to they're hangry, they're just hangry bees. And so they are more agitated. They are probably a little more aggressive than normal. And so that can be a challenge, especially if you're inspecting and they're more agitated. Ask why are they more agitated? And it could be because of a dearth. So those are just some of the signs to pay attention to. And as the weather gets better here, heading into June and July, there will be less like a rain dearth here in Western Washington, but you could arrive at a summer dearth where there just isn't a bloom, and that kind of happens after blackberry flow often in the Northwest here. There can be a little bit of a dearth, so be aware of that upcoming.
Weather plays a big role in beekeeping. It's something that we're always looking out for. We're always watching this. What temperatures do you see bees starting to move around in? What are optimal temperatures?
Yeah.
What don't we want to see? What are some tips and advice around temperature in the form of degrees?
Yeah. 50s, you'll see bees active, but like today, 50s overcast. If it's rainy or windy, they're not really going to be out. Maybe a handful. 60s, you'll definitely see a lot more activity, and that's when you could safely get in your hive. Again, if it's really windy and you're pulling frames out, you could potentially be blowing bees away. You could potentially blow the queen away. So you got to be very careful. I would really just recommend if it's really windy, you just don't do any inspecting. If it's rainy, definitely don't do any inspecting. Um, I was telling our friend Paul about this. He was seeing a bunch of bees flying around, and then he was asking about like when it starts to rain and whatnot, and like them getting back to their hives. And I was like, yeah, they need to get back soon. Otherwise, they may not get back. And he's like, well, why? It's just a little bit of rain. And I was like, well, think of their size and imagine for yourself cinder blocks falling out of the air and just hitting you and hitting you. You're going to have a pretty tough time getting back to where you were trying to go. That would be like what a raindrop is hitting a bee. They're just getting knocked off course, getting
Is
knocked
that a
out.
real analogy? Getting hit with a cinder block? Is
Yeah,
that?
that's how I compared it. Just imagine these cinder blocks coming out of yeah.
I can only think of Home Alone. The only thing I can think about is Home Alone when Kevin is throwing the bricks at the bad guys.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And they are
It's like the
down.
the bowling ball swinging down the staircase and knocks you down. Yeah. That's what the rain would be like for bees. So it's not great when it's raining. In fact, last week, I went out to visit some of our hives in a day similar like today, and it was like maybe it would rain, maybe it would not rain, and all I wanted to do was feed. So I just wanted to crack the lid open, put some feed in, not really do any inspecting. Maybe a couple hives that I had some questions about, but that would be it. Um, the moment I showed up, or just a few minutes before, it just started pouring, raining. And then so I tried to wait it out a little bit. I thought there was a break. I got all suited up, got out of the truck, dumping then, and was just dumping and dumping and dumping. And, I kind of cut a little bit of the grass away from the entrance so that they have more flight access. But it was still pouring. And I was like, man, I just can't get in these hives. This would be a disaster if I were to open these hives up. And so I didn't do it. And sometimes you get all prepared, you get ready to go, you're going to get in the hives. Maybe it's a questionable day. Maybe it's a beautiful day because it's the Northwest. And then in 10 minutes, everything changes because that is what the Northwest weather does. And sometimes you just got to,
it blows up on you.
yeah, you got to change your plans. I'm not going to say it's 50 degrees and it's going to start snowing per se, but it could be 50 degrees, sunny, hailstorm. It could be rainy, beautiful the next 10 minutes. You never fully know. And so you just got to be prepared when
It's like being an Oregon Ducks fan. It's just sometimes it's good and sometimes it's really bad.
you don't got to throw strays out like that. Like it's been good lately. And so let's keep that to ourselves. Huskies haven't had a lot to go off of either. Neither have the Colorado Buffs. Like, okay, you had the
Didn't
one
we just go to the national championship?
and lost. Been there, done that twice. Not that successful.
Didn't we beat some Oregon team 3 times in a row to get that, to make that happen?
Okay, let's calm down. Got lucky.
I think it was like 3 times in a season, wasn't it?
It's twice this last year. It's twice. By 3 points each time. Very competitive, very close games. Well done. You got second place this year. Proud of you. Anyways,
I'm just saying.
The weather, if it gets 70s, 80s and above, like that's prime time to get into your hives, prime time there's probably going to be good nectar flow. But, as we've said in the past, at the start of the season, you really want to feed your bees. Feed.
does nectar flow impact honey?
Well, it's how they make honey. So if there's not a nectar flow, they're not making honey. And honey, yes, it's something we sell. It's something that a lot of people enjoy, like on your toast or your scone, or in a lot of recipes. I love putting it on my pizza recently.
I like it on a biscuit when
Oh,
I'm going to
nice
eat some
biscuit.
KFC.
Yeah,
Nice warm biscuit with butter. That's my favorite way to eat honey.
it's good. It's good. However you want to eat your honey, the first and foremost thing is bees make honey for their own food. So if there's not nectar, they're not making their own natural food, and so you have to supplement that with sugar water or put on pollen patties.
An interesting thing that I heard that we had a guest on a few months ago that does beekeeping in the city.
Uh-huh.
And that sometimes these bees are in trash dumpsters. Sometimes they're getting water from puddles from unsavory areas. Sometimes they're in pretty dirty environments, and they're bringing that back to the hive.
Yeah.
And then they're making that honey. Honey from an inner city hive, it hasn't made me feel awesome lately just thinking about that. Like, I haven't been able to get that out of my head for months. Like, I don't want to eat inner city hive honey. I'm just saying, because a part of it's all natural, right? So
Yeah.
basically, like, at the end of the day, like, everything, all that honey, that's a derivative of the area. And I think just for myself, like, being a bee farmer, like, I want my bees to get nectar from the best plants. I want them to get really high quality, blackberry or strawberry or blueberry or raspberry or almonds or pumpkins or whatever. Like, I want them to get the best quality stuff. I don't want them to be swooping in the garbage can next to the homeless guy. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm not hating on the homeless guy, but I mean, would you eat out of a dumpster?
Not by choice, not for fun. It's not something I would enjoy doing. I would definitely try. I'd try pretty much any honey, like I would taste any honey. My preference probably wouldn't be for, city honey, but I think it's kind of cool if you can say, hey, this honey's from,
I think it's cool too,
from several blocks over, this hive. And the reality is, like, the bees, the way they make honey. Yeah, the way they make the honey is processed, through them. They eat it and they poop it out. They eat it and they poop it out. It's processed through them. So they're going to take on a lot of that grossness themselves. But you're right. It is at the end of the day from, those few mile radius.
Right here, it's going to make you rich.
Someone's probably got
a robbery. I don't know.
Got a Wall Street honey. Like, that's got to be something sold in New York. We'll have to see if that's a real thing. Because if not,
then we may have to point it here first.
We may have to take advantage of that opportunity. You know what I mean? But
Wall Street honey. What about hood honey? I kind of like that too.
Hood honey. Yeah, I think like in the hood of a car though too. So that's not necessarily what I want. My mind did not
hive go there at all.
My hive, like, in a car. I don't know about that. Like,
Ralph, where did your mind go on hood honey? I gotta know. Were you following my trajectory, or were you following?
Could be a hoodie.
Scott the Beekeeper's honey.
I think it depends what city you're in and what part of the city you're in. If you're part of the city where there's a lot of really, really good restaurants, and it's just the stuff that they're throwing out at the end of the night and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe, maybe you're getting a 4 to 5 star, Michelin star honey there. But if you're in other parts where there's
that's a good thought.
No good food, no good restaurants. Yeah, if it's, like I don't know that I'd eat Everett honey. Downtown Everett honey.
You know what place has really good food that I think their honey.
Did you just take a jab at downtown Everett?
He did.
No,
he did. And it's not okay. But Portland is one of my favorite food places.
I would never want to eat Portland honey.
Portland food is incredible though.
their food is incredible. It's just the other.
What's
Well,
incredible about the Portland food?
they just have like everything, and it's always good. It's always good. You have to go down and
I've been to Portland.
shout out to Screen Door, probably one of my favorite places in Portland to eat. A little southern cooking. It's good. Anyways, we'll get back on topic a little bit here. We're kind of beginning to wrap up a little bit, but dearth, weather, pay attention. Know these things about your bees. Feed them as much as you can. Realistically, because it's a nice day, that doesn't mean you can necessarily get in your hive that day, depending on how many hives you have and what else you have going on. But try to take advantage of the nice opportunities, the quality days that we have to feed your bees. Right now, we're kind of in the midst of a dearth. It's been raining. It's been hard for the bees to get out. So just try and feed them as best as you can and prepare them for the summer, for the harvest, into the winter. It's always about strengthening the hive, right? Like that's the bottom line is we want our hives to get stronger and healthier. So pay attention to dearth, pay attention to the weather. Dave, did you have any closing thoughts or ideas for the people?
How do you prevent dearth? Is there a way to prevent dearth here?
No, you really can't prevent it.
It's just something you're going to work with.
It's something you're going to work with. You can maybe prepare or circumvent it in a sense. Like I said, you can't really control the weather, right? If it's going to rain for 10 consecutive days, wash away lots of nectar and keep the bees inside, then that's a dearth period. Hopefully they have the food in the hive via honey or sugar water or pollen patties to be fine. So you can't really prevent that. In a sense, you can prevent or overcome that by having your bees at places where there are blooms happening. So if there's a scheduled dearth for a few weeks, maybe you move your bees to a place that has flowers or crops that are going to be blooming in that time to kind of overcome that, to overcompensate for that. But that's the only way. And that, that's part of just moving your hives. As a company, we do move our hives to different locations, and that's a part of it, right? Like we want our bees to always be getting fed. So you got to change locations sometimes. So that's pretty much the only way you can.
And that's why you're always loading up on pollen patties and sugar water.
Yep. Always. That's just routine. Mixing that preparing that. Yep.
I see the bees are always circling the sugar water tank.
Most of the time. Yep. They know what's in there, I think, and they want some of
it. There is always a swarm of bees around the sugar water tank.
Yep. And that's part of the dearth aspect too. If they can't go find other nectar, they're gonna go for that. And so we just gotta be on top of it.
Yeah, you do, for sure. All right. Well, big takeaways. Take care of your bees, pollen patties, sugar water. Make sure they've got enough to eat during a dearth period. Don't get in the hives, 50, 60 degrees. Wait for it to warm up. Well, 60 degrees, probably not bad, but, no wind, no rain. We don't want to be in any of those things. And,
yep.
Make sure the bees are in a good place. Listen, if you like the show, give us a like, give us a share on your social platform. Drop your comments in the comment box. We'd love to hear from you. And listen, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you've got something interesting that you want to talk about bees and honey and production and that sort of thing, we'd love to have you on the show. Shoot us a DM. We're always looking for fun new guests to hang out and chat with. So that's a fun thing. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, anywhere where it's social, hanging out. But I'm just having a fun time and just loving the bee life. I'm going to say loving the bee life. I think I might coin that phrase, loving the bee life.
You're a busy bee.
You're a busy bee. That's kind of an exciting one too. Is that what your wife tells you when you get home from work now?
Sometimes she's like, have you been a busy bee today? And I'm like, not going to respond to that.
I'm not going to respond to that today. I'll show you a busy bee.
Anyways, thanks for joining us, everybody. Stay tuned for more episodes to come.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed today's episode of Teach Me Bees. And we hope that you have a wonderful, cloudy, dearthy type of day. here in the Pacific Northwest. And we will see you later.
See you next time.
See you next time. Be happy. Be excited. Be grateful. Be gone.